Came in with that striped shirt. My goodness. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're going to be taking a look at SHINee's Lucifer dance practice. This, I know, is probably one of the choreographies that a lot of people were looking forward for me to take a look at, because it's one of the most iconic dance practices in the K-pop scene, period. No explanation needed a lot of times. This is one of the iconic ones. It's one of the ones that shows that sky blue wallpaper. It is the epitome of the SM dance practice. You know what I mean? And it's got a lot of nice elements in it. The choreographers for this were RINO, Nakasone, and Jaewon. And so what's really fun about this is we're going to actually look at not just the dance practice. We're also going to be reacting to RINO and Jaewon do the choreography. But I found another video. It happened around 8 months ago, and it's RINO, I believe, reteaching this less than a year ago at this point in time. So we're talking about over 13 years difference between the RINO of 2010 and 2023. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity to really see that difference. So I think without further ado, the only thing left for us to do is watch and enjoy. Let's do it. They're clean. It's good. We need to talk about how freaking defined his muscles are. I swear. Came in with that striped shirt. My goodness. Yeah, that was old news voice. Jonghyun's muscles are so defined. In this 720 pixelated video, you can still see lines. Are you kidding me? Love that. That was fun. That was really, really fun. I think we need to go take a look at RINO and J1 do this. Let's do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So, show me the different story right there. I don't know Korean, but I'm singing about the
Wow. You can see there's so much essence, presence of the chest in that torso, man. Wow. That was cool. That was nice. This is so fun. And I love, here's the thing, I love the imperfectness of those that are in this class. Because you know nowadays, a lot of studios, they have it so structured when they show class footage, you don't watch people make mistakes. Do you know what I mean?
So until then, it's always here. When you do that, it's front, and then bam, bam, bam. Now, here, now, open,
Open.
out, and now, come back, now that way, boom, back.
Notice they're using their chest to help guide the direction. They're not just doing the arms.
There you go.
That was awesome. How they're doing it, they have this extra essence in play in the usage of the chest.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I love that. That was super cool. My side note to this, I mean, we can just talk about this briefly and then we'll move on to the other one, the more recent one. But like the beauty of the fact that we have people that are there to take class for the sake of taking class, you know, and we have footage here and we're watching the camera, like we're not just showcasing professionals doing this. Like we're watching people who are students learning how to do this. And I'm very appreciative of that because I really think that's one of the downsides of how social media has been cultivated or the elevation of dance within the social media realm. The beauty is we get to see more exposure. We get to learn more through the amount of information we've been given. However, there's more pressure involved that we have to look a particular way in front of a camera now versus using footage or using recordings as more progress points and sections of the journey and not that's not the main goal of class. Like for me, the goal of the class was to learn the dance and to be in the same space and to share energy. It wasn't to get a really decent take of you dancing. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's one facet that I wish we had more in the forefront again, and I hope that that turns into a trend again. And I know there's some choreographers that are now becoming more aware that that needs to be more of a thing, because what's really funny to me is there are these really heavy, like really big named choreographers, quote unquote, like ones who have a lot of credentials behind their back in terms of what they've been doing, in terms of like, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular. It's just a trend I've been seeing with a lot of choreographers who do teach regularly on the West Coast side. All of a sudden, no, it's not all of a sudden, I'm just starting to take note and notice that more of them are starting to say, no, we're not filming this class. Don't bring your phone. Like that kind of stuff. Like they're being more adamant about not doing that. And I'm appreciative of that. Part of me wishes that we were more aware of it sooner, but also we can't downplay the effort that's being held. Does that make sense? So that's what I find beautiful about this, is that this was 13 years ago, 14 years ago, probably almost at that time. And it doesn't bother me the fact that these people were imperfect. And for me, it doesn't take away from RINO and J1's teaching quality. They're students. They're there to learn, you know? And so I'm really glad that this exists so we can have this conversation. Like, this is great. Now let's look at RINO. I think it's RINO in 2023 time. It was really fun. So like when you notice here, it was definitely, was this an excerpt of the actual choreo? That's a good question. I mean, I have to go double back and make sure, because it is different than what the older one looked like. You didn't see her do it. But if you notice, this kind of class did feel like it was a premium workshop. So like, I'm assuming it was for, the intention was very specific, and it was more than just the choreography. You notice she took a very holistic approach to how she taught. Hence why I still double down on what I said. It's like, notice every single person. It's a class. Like, every single person was allotted time in front of the camera, and you get to find joy and love in front of it. But also, you know, it is a different structure in class nowadays. You see? Like, we learned how to perform in front of a camera. Do you know? And we have some really young ones in here too. But notice how they're filling up the music. Like they're using their body so much more in this workshop than you notice from, you know, SHINee, or you notice from the older one too. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and take a look back at SHINee. Okay, we're back here. I did a little bit of digging. I always tend to do that just to make sure I have all my ducks in a row. So there was somebody assisting her in that very last video, RINO, and things like Shun Suzuki or someone like that. And he is one of the backup dancers for SHINee and Taemin. And so he was able to be a guide as well. And RINO was there more as an advisor and like presenting essence of artistry within that particular video. That's what the translation of what the description of the video was talking about. And so I'm going to assume that that excerpt was in fact the choreography for that part. We may encounter it here, but notice though that over the years that how the choreo is presented is different. And for me, I feel it's probably, that could be why my taste is the way that it is, because of the generation or the era in which I really gleaned my own personal artistic expression, you know. So that's a really fun, that was just so fun, right? Just seeing, you know, this is like 2010 now, right? And where we looked at 2010 RINO and J1, and then we saw 2023 educator RINO and guiding some people along the way, which is super cool. Okay. From the top, let's do our due diligence and really dive in here. So from this very beginning, approaching forward, I love that boom boom, having the accent with the 3, and then having the 2 continue moving forward. Yep, and then also having just an accent of pausing, having the moment, and then of course accenting over to the other side. Really great choice there. I do think it's important to know that's what I like, even though RINO's choreo looks similar to Misha's. It's different. because of the essence. And notice it was tailoring to the group. There's more levels represented. There's more intention behind it. That's why. So anyway, having him present forward, I love that bass to kind of initiate them to come back in. Those little moments are things that I really like seeing here. Now, and that right there, branching it out, everybody making their own choice. Some branching down, some branching up. Really nice, shows variety. Now this choreo, here we go. I know this is the choreo, this section right here. So this part I will do at 0.75. Let's talk about it. It's a mix of waves, like waving progressions and tuts. Switching it through, they do a wave. They bring it in. My note for this, notice that we did actually do a connection. We connected from where it entered, traveled it in, and then we allowed it to roll down where we needed it to. Everyone's very clear with their intention as well as with our hand. We are about to do a tutting sequence. So they go from a wave, boom, and then they go into a ticking wave. Then they branch it over, ding, ding, ding. Here, my note here is some of our angles were just a smidgen off. We would fold it around, really like this choice here. And then we're about to branch it off and make it a moment. And then right there, ding, 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 ding. It's like a pixelated wave almost, and it matches the pixelation of the sound. Switching it through, ding, ding, ding. Now notice, this is a polyrhythm right here. What makes it so captivating and tricky is because of what's happening in the lower half is following a different part of the music than what's happening in the upper part of the body. So if you look what's happening in the upper part, yep, switching it through, doom, 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 doom. It's very much exploring a grid line here, but also creating a shape and making sure that the shape is maintained as you flip it. Then having it come back in, bringing it through, dropping it down. Really like that trace that's happening, but also framing the face. Notice some of them are keeping it tailored to the shoulder and then tailoring it across the face. So let's ask the question. Is this the most difficult choreography of 2010? That I couldn't say. I'm not sure because I haven't seen all of the K-pop choreography of 2010. What I would give this is what is a key moment in the K-pop dance scene that matters for K-pop. This matters because a lot of people are saying this is one of the first instances where idols were taken seriously as dancers. That matters more than whether or not this is the most difficult choreography. We all know it's not. It's not. It is a polyrhythm, yes, but it is a mix of basic fundamental ticking waves that you learn in a drill format in a beginner to intermediate workshop. But when you now look though, they are adding more of a syncopation of the lower half of the body. It's still very impressive and it takes time to get, but it is not impossible. Does that make sense? And how they get it all nice and clean. Are they the cleanest? Technically, I mean, I have it paused. They're not doing the exact same thing. Some are definitely catering to the shoulder. Some are overshooting the shoulder. Some are getting it across the face. So they're not the cleanest at it either. But the point isn't that. The point is this was important to come out when it did because it helped create a framework moving forward. If this routine didn't exist or routines of this era didn't exist the way that they did and impact the way that they did, we wouldn't be getting the degree of difficulty in the choreographies we have in this day and age. Does that kind of make sense? So from here, they do trace, switching it through. Love the little groove action here, but notice they are choosing to use the shoulders more so than the chest in this area. Diving it down, do-do-do-do-do. Really nice to have that accent, branch out. Yeah, dun, dun, dun. Really like the pull of the energy there. Really nice with the switching of the lines. Clean. Notice we're not using the chest nearly as much, obviously, because they are singing. So they're probably training how there's going to be more practical for them to do the choreo. I love kind of how they're crossing over, framing it out towards the outside. Really nice to see. Another little branch moment with a little bit of an action down the lower half of the body. Yep. Da, 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 da. It's nice to see. It's definitely very impressive. Right here, of course, we have this nice stoic position. We see that throughout as a fingerprint of the movement. Now we've officially finished the iconic section of the choreo, and I've talked about what makes it iconic and why it's important. Now we're going to go bring it back up to the full normal speed. Here we go. Now right here, go boom, bring it in. Really like having that action. It's fun, it's enjoyable. Notice we have a little bit of a reverb happening over here on this side on stage left. I really appreciate that moment. Like there have a lot of tension, that push and pull energy that's taking place with this, and I'm very much a fan of that. Love that. It does show breath, and look, we're already showcasing multiple levels here. Love that. And then bring it in. I love the really nice seamless transition in, having Taemin come forward. The iconic shirt, man. Okay, having this energy. I love that. Ding, ding, right here. Switch lines. Out here, boom. Love that. Bringing in the arms. So they're very intentional, and they keep the fingerprint of using and creating this kind of staccato action as they bring it in towards the body. Switching it through, doom, doom. Really like that choice. Spacing just a little bit off over in stage right. Now there, boom, boom, boom. Really love that action as well. Little butterfly move. Of course, that does remind you similarly to what they did before, but it feels a little bit more syncopated, matches a part of the music, but it's still fingerprinted. So that was nice, having a little, bringing it through, having the opposition between Taemin and the rest of the group, sliding over to the side. Really nice. Switching it through. Yep. So, and then we have the transition over. Really like this choice. So honestly, I did say Taemin was a little bit, the space was a little bit off, and it was still technically off, but it makes sense why that choice was made. I did make that note about replay. There was a moment where the spacing was pretty off, but it was because we were initiating a transition. That's what I would probably project here as well, because notice he is that point of wherever he is. Everybody else set up the formation over by the diagonal. So that was really nice to see. Love that action too. Boom, 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 boom. Really enjoy that. Right there. Ding, ding, ding. Really nice to see that too. Notice we used the legs a little bit more here. Let me see. Yeah, so they actually chose to use the legs, but really whenever you looked at J1 and RINO, they used the hips because it's that Michael Jackson influence, right? Maybe even a little James Brown, I don't quite know, but I would say Michael for sure, in that influence, and they really used the legs. So that would be like another note for me, even though that would be something, the hips are not the same as the lungs, or where your lungs are not at your hip. So that could definitely have been something that they could have added to it to really initiate and create more essence within this particular routine. But it doesn't. Once again, it's iconic, it's fine. Guys, it's 2010. They are not moving like this in 2024. I do know that. And there's a good chance, it's just, what is it? This is also just the era. This is just the time where this type of movement was thriving. But notice there was a difference between their movement here than what you're seeing from RINO and J1. Very, very isolated. So all of this, notice it's supposed to build. And a lot of times with the build, you see this kind of energy be put in. Here it's very static. And that would be another note, is that they could add it in. I've seen them do it. Replay and Love Like Oxygen had it. But replay especially. So for me, I feel like they can do it. It's just have we taken a step away for too long and it's hard to get back to that? There's always a chance of that. So I am looking forward to seeing in the future. I love that moment where they all kind of went different ways with their heels. And I love the little branch around. That was super fun. Ding, 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 boom. Really nice. With the swing, once again, it's clean. It's really nice. But also, we are choosing to drop it down. That was a really nice motion to see there. But it is a bit overly isolated compared to the integrity of how the choreographers intended it to be. Switching it to the other side, but no one can take away the fact that it's freaking clean. It's clean. With the sliding through, like that there. That was nice to see that pull of that energy from Jungyeon. That was great. Yeah, that right. Boom, boom, boom. Really nice. We're continuing to add risk in the syncopation. Very much appreciate that for sure. And having the energy. Love this right here. We're providing accents and hitting the other polyrhythmic intention from those outside of him. Very much appreciate that a lot. And then I love that they're still moving, grooving, and thriving over here on stage right. Very much a fan of that as well. Sliding it through. Doon, doon. I love that. Really nice to see. So we get it through. Boom, boom, boom. And then also dropping it down to switch that leg over. Really like that choice. I think this routine aged very well. My one note is that if we want this routine to age, I think out of replay and this one, I think replay aged better than this one did. But it's the singular note of what matters more in today's society is really making sure you have that groove in check when you're doing choreographies like this of influence. You need to have it because we're kind of like almost operating so much on the opposite end, where we're not focusing so much on the intricacies, we're focusing so much more on the fullness. So that's another little note that I want to say too. That's a very cultural thing. So I'm curious what's going to happen from this point in time 13 years later, how is this going to come back as like a trend of having more of an isolated approach? Those are the things that I'm just genuinely curious about, because these are trends. They're parts of the era, so they are in no way, shape, or form like they are thriving here. And this is, like I said, I've already said enough of that, right? I love the choice of using the column and then having everybody branch out. Now notice that was a cool moment. Let me slow that down. They did a tutting progression with multiple people. I think they used 3 people for that. Pushing it through. Yeah, then ding, 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 ding. Now that wasn't as clear as it could have been. No, it's not because of the pixels, but I like the choice of allowing the switch through with everybody. This right here. Ding, 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 ding. That was really nice to see. Then ding, 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 and then having them branch out. This is a freaking cool section. It's nice, it's syncopated, and everybody has to know what they're doing at what time. Everyone is more independent of their own choice, and that can also elevate difficulty in a routine. Is you can't rely upon other people the whole time. I would say you would be able to get away with that with Ring Ding Dong, or with not Lucifer, sorry, that's what we're watching right now, with Amigo or Ring Ding Dong. Those two, it is a bit easier to find someone doing the same thing as you, because a lot of it does operate in a unison pocket. Here in this case, this is the exact opposite. It's kind of felt like we flipped a switch in the best way possible. I love it. I love that branch away. That was a really nice moment. That right there, boom, doo-doo. Really like that choice as well. Did you see that wave with the tension? I love that we went from fast. It was a speed change in the wave. So we went from fast and we slowed it down a little bit more. I really love that. I love that ding ding. I really love that choice too. Bringing up to the head, dipping it down, boom, and then using the head to thread through. So we have a lot of threading that's taking place in this choreo as well. I appreciate that a lot. And then everybody comes in. We neutralize a little bit, new formation. So when it comes to density of making sure we know where everything's supposed to go, it's pretty up there in terms of there's a lot you have to think about. But also, you can tell they have the discipline to pull it off. Hence why I think RINO and J1 gave it to them. You know, I love the fact that they took this approach, because they said, let's go for it. And they said, okay, cool. What do you want us to do? That's really what it felt like. I love it. It was a risk, and I think it definitely paid off. I mean, we'll just keep it in 0.75 just so we can really talk through it a little bit more. That, notice, I really feel I think that's key, right? Key used his hips a little bit more in that moment. Watch. Yeah, he used his hips a lot. I would say a lot of them kind of isolated it and created more like a knee action with it, and some used a hip. And because what we saw from J1 and RINO, it was more of a hip action. But the thing is, as long as everybody's kind of on the same page, it's kind of fine, honestly. Switching it through, ding, ding, ding. Notice there too, sometimes nowadays you see people really kind of write it back. We take a laid back approach or go more forward with it. Here it's very isolated, which gives a very stoic, suave approach, which is totally fine. Switching it through. Yeah, of course, breaking it down, boom, boom, boom. And also, this is a dance practice. This is not like a music video version, right? So we have to keep that in mind too. This is a dance practice. This is one of the first of like the iconic ones of what make dance practices what they are. This isn't like we're looking at this in 2024 and I'm like, ooh, this should have been cleaner. No, these are little things that could they potentially not be on the same page on whenever they do it in their music video? Most likely, I've caught them before. So it's not, this is not my first rodeo at this point. I'm about 5 deep on SHINee. I'm very familiar, much more so now than I was this time yesterday for me, of looking at their movement quality. Switching it through. I like that once again, but instead of branching the fingers out, they kept it as like a loose wrist. So I really like that. It does look different. It feels more like we're bound. And I think that's kind of the approach of that dynamic, which I really like. Dun, 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 dun. Like that too. Dun, 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 dun. We are very, da 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 da. Like how they have to sing it's like this. So I'm appreciative that we're providing a lot of depth to it, and it makes it more digestible in music by having levels or having lowering of the body in certain parts to really help us catch the beauty of that within some parts of the vocals. That's really nice. Like that, boom, dun, dun, dun. Very much like that as well. Switching through the shampoos, I like the fact that they chose to use that as a transition instead of the other time they didn't. And it's nice to use the same choreo, but we just approach it in a different way. Love seeing that here. Little kick step, and then also branching it around. Boom, boom. Really love that energy too. Switching it through, little ding, ding, ding. Notice that we had Taemin take more of like a chiller approach, and then Junghyun took a very like literal approach. So that's just freedom of interpretation for that part is really what it gave energy-wise. Here we go. Swinging it through. Notice that key really brought it over and around, but I don't know if everybody else did. Let me see. So we go and we transition. Watch. Boom, right here. So they all start mid. Well, I would say Junghyun also started over, but I would say, oh my gosh. If I were to guess, I went off of voice. This could be Onu. I could be wrong. That's okay though. It's okay. We're at 720 pixels and I got about half of them easily. With the little clap, yeah, I think that's Onu, I think that's Minho. But with the clap there, notice he started a little bit in the mid versus all the way over, so the range looked a little off there. So that's my little note. I love that. Boom, love that energy. That was cool. Great reset. And tilting it in, and then it feels like we're currently creating a nice little box there. Super nice to see. Then we bring it up. You're throwing it through. Once again, boom. That's kind of like our go-to movement of what we do. I think we can... Maybe we're going to go back. This is honestly one of the first times that I keep switching between 0.75 and all the way through. I like that part. Ding, ding. It's chill, but also we have more of a bounce and a pep and a step in within it. So it feels like we are building the energy, which is great. We want to see that. Switching through. Also, yes to that. Love using the hips guiding us where we're going, not just stepping to it. Thank you. Love that. Switching it through. Boom, 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 boom. Really nice with the rising of one foot, the weight shift between the two, having the twist with that little different dynamic in play. Boom, boom, boom. Like that choice in the back. Cool. Yeah, that do-do-do, do-do-do. Once again, does feel, for the type of movement, I'm used to seeing it with a little bit more like a RoboCop with that ISO helping with that groove. But here, it does feel more internal. It could be because of elbow placement. Because if you look here, elbows are more out, it feels more full. Elbows are more in, feels more internal. So that would be definitely something that that could be a topic of conversation. Do we want to go more inside? Do we want to go more out? Because it does trigger different parts of your back, and it does come across a little differently. Depends on what you want to do. So that was cool. Boom, love that. Boom, 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 boom. Really great to see that. Sliding it in, great tension, and then also with the head. Something they're always really good at. I love the fact that they're always intentional with where they place their head. So many groups, that is not something that they are as aware of. Here, I always feel like it is very intentionally placed, and I'm very much a fan of it. I always have been since the first video, and I'm definitely a fan now. It's just great, and I really hope that is out of everything. That's one of the things that they keep throughout all the eras, is that. Love that great moment here. Everyone's kind of there hanging. And then right there, boom, boom. Really love that. He's sustaining a high note. Totally fine for him to be there. That was really nice for him to have that moment. They all, boom, respond out of it. That's great. So this has a lot of popping dynamics, or things that you would see in popping, you see here. And I think that's something that I really appreciate as well, because a lot of times you have the speed changes, you have some fixed points, you have some tutting progressions, and tuts and waves a lot of times are used to help create dynamics within the pop. Because a lot of times the pop, if you just pop, you know, you can still kill it just popping. But I'm saying a lot of times people can do a wave into a pop. You say the tutting angles, creating angles can really help build and help you with concepts, right? And so I feel that that's what we're seeing a lot of symptoms or essences of, is popping in this. And that's what makes it so captivating too, is that at this point you're dealing with more of that hip hop, rock and bounce, but a lot of times there's a lot of technique or the technical elements that can really be showcased through training and popping. So I really love seeing that here. That right there, boom, do-do-do. Definitely like a robotic, not a speed change. I would say that was definitely a robotic intention, and how they did it is, you notice with the feet, they twisted the feet at the same time. Normally when regular humans, they turn and they twist at the balls of the feet. But in this case, they twisted on the heel, so it kind of gave that very animated look. That's what that differentiates from, which I really love. Of course, right here, a little bit more of a robot kind of vibe, but very simple, a basic interpretation of that. But I love the switch, boom, and that triggered, and I love having the feature trigger that speed change over. That slow-mo, that is so fun. And then how they chose to, I would say they did more of like a bop, and a bop and a pop are different. A pop is an external chest hit or an external hit. Bops are internal hits. That's why you got Bop and Andre. Internal. You know, so I think it's really cool that we got to see that here. An internal Personally, for me, I feel more comfortable and confident hitting an internal chest hit than an external, but it's because of a lot of my background and training and what types of popping techniques I have gleaned, or the ones in particular that I feel the most comfortable in, that I have trained and refined. It's definitely some like dime stops or something that's a lifelong journey for me, but fun fact, dime stops are, out of all the popping classes I've ever taken, that I've consulted with people, the sessions and ciphers I've been a part of, the one key thing that people say you gotta train more than anything else, dime stops. And it's because it's so tricky to master. I haven't mastered it because I hadn't put the discipline in to put in that work, but it is from pretty much everybody. Dime stops is the one technique. If you're an individual who wants to get really good at popping, practice your dime stops more than you think you should. But that was a really nice bop though, and having that feature, boom, allow that moment to be initiated. That was a great section. And then right here we go, really nice. It's a very different position. It's not popping anymore, you know, but it's a lot of the dynamics of how they were approaching that technique they're using here, and that's why there's some sense of dynamic overlap. And I do like that, with a little bit of, we're still building up the energy. Notice that we do have some range and fullness, using that chest to help create this look of what Taemin has. Yeah, it does feel like Jonghyun is marking just a smidge. Not even an issue. I have no qualms with that. Because she drops down. Once again, notice now instead of everybody doing the same thing, we have it as an every other. Very nice. Great way to still do the same choreo, but showcase it in a slightly different way. Love that choice. Switching through. Yep. Da-da-da-da. Nice to see. And they dug it to the front, whereas you had the other two go to the side. So that was a really nice moment to see. Here we go, and they get to have their moment. Yeah, switching through. Of course, for him, he had to get right back in it, but he joined in mighty fine. Pushing it back. Boom, boom. Really like that as well. And then notice he had his moment up here. Really appreciated that. Having me everybody do a little bit of switches. What did they do technically at that bottom? Let me see. Oh, so they were just doing a little bit more like just kind of switching between their feet, and then having their arms complement that. That was really fun to see. And they all come down. Great tension. Right here. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, and they all go, I think it's, and they all did. I think Taemin was a little bit too early, and I think you can tell that he was like, oh, too early. But then they rotated, boom, 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 and they switch it over. So yeah, for the most part, this is astronomically impressive choreography, especially for the era that it was. And no one can, I mean, people can say different, but I really wish there were more people who expressed what specifically about the routine outside of just it was ahead of its time. Why was it ahead of its time? The reason why is because of the things that I've stated. The usage of popping fundamentals or dynamics within the formations and the techniques and the transitions. Also understanding, just like, you know, a lot of people who made a name for themselves or were viral before social media was a thing, and people talk about that. They made choreography, this kind of choreography was viral, or it made a name for itself without having the heavy influence of dance being at the forefront of things. This was pioneered in that way, and that's what makes it important. Not whether or not it's the most difficult choreography. It's not the most difficult choreo, guys. It's not, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it is and pretend like it is. It's not. But that's not the point of the video, and that's not the point of this. The point is to showcase that they can hold it down and understand fundamentals and not be just idols who are taking what they want and doing whatever they want with it. They want to be good stewards of what they have, and that's what we see. You know, so for me, kudos and shout out to SHINee for that. Kudos and shout out to specifically RINO and J1 for that, because they were the choreographers for it. And I freaking love the fact that we got to take a look at them kill it, regardless of how clear or blurry it is. But we also got to see RINO and J1 kill it, but also see RINO in recent times as an educator. That was really nice to see. And I'm actually really happy about the fact that we got to touch on so many other important key things that were a part of this era, or what makes this so important outside of just the content. Because at the end of the day, it's a lot of it has nothing to do with the content. It has to deal with the intention, and it has to deal with why the timing was important too. So all that to say, I'm very, very proud of them for this. I love the fact that I got to take a look at it with this lens, and I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing their future work, because I'm really glad we got to tackle this here in the era that it is. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. Once again, my apologies if if I was touching on other things that weren't necessarily about the dance, but mostly about the importance as to why this routine was very, you know, inventive or very innovative of the time. And what I'll do too is I'll try to make sure I put timestamps in, especially when I'm talking about something specific that may not be a part of the analysis and you just want to see the analysis. I'll make sure I have those provided, and I hope that I was able to articulate or express my personal perspective as clearly as I can. So I wanted to make sure I did my due diligence to make sure that I was approaching at this as effectively and as deliberately in as much detail as I could, because I understand the importance of this routine and I didn't want to shortcut it. And that's kind of how I'm approaching this marathon. All that to say, if you want to be a part of my analysis journey, I do intend on having this one as well as a few others, I think around 7, while I'm making them make their way to YouTube in real time. And then once SHINee, every time they make a comeback, I release a certain number of older reactions. But all of them will be made available onto Patreon. No problem, no ads, all that good stuff. Nothing uncut. Nothing cut. Everything pretty much uncut. And I'm just very much looking forward to the discussions on this one specifically, because I know this one is probably going to be one of the most viewed ones out of all of my analysis for the exact reasons that I said. You know. Once again, I am Jess. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.